Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know, those government people that make laws and regulations that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you went and elected and will soon get that opportunity in August and November. And the committees and the commissions that made decisions that would have affected you had you ever gone to that meeting. And the result can be a taxing situation.
Yes, or it could have other issues that come up and bubble to the top. It's called humor.
Humor.
Or it could sink to the bottom, in which case we'll dig it out and bring it to the top.
That's right.
Right? There's another thing we call rumor.
Rumor.
And he spreads rumors more than I do.
I call it creative journalism.
That's what he calls it. But you know, if it quacks like a duck, it is pretty much a duck.
That's right.
Rumor.
That's right, anyway, my fellow Drake.
But you folks, it's up to you to decipher, you know, rumor from humor from, you know, the meeting news.
What he's
right?
saying is most of what we say is true.
Most, yes, most of it. I'd say a whole bunch is.
Yeah.
Define a bunch. Anyway, let's talk about the meetings that went on, shall we?
Yeah.
I knew we'd get to it sooner or later, right?
Yep.
Okay, the Oxford Township Trustee meeting on July 11th, we'll discuss that. Also, the Addison Township Board Trustee meeting, which is held on July 16th. And then if we get an opportunity to finish, we'll talk about the DDA Village meeting that went on.
All right.
Okay, so the Oxford Township Trustee meeting held on July 11th. Bill Dunn, of course, the supervisor of the township, heads up this board. Joe Ferrari, who's the treasurer, and Curtis Wright, who's the clerk, sit on this board. Jack Curtis is trustee, Patty Durr, Marjorie Payne, and of course, me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so anyway, first thing they did, of course, is they did the Pledge of Allegiance, of course. Got the preliminaries out of the way. The agenda was approved with an amendment by Curtis Wright. He wanted to strike one item and add two items to the list to be worked on. Regional transportation was one thing he put on, and then also online public records search professional program.
Oh, the RTA has raised its little head again.
Yes, it has, and you know we're going to talk more about that as we go along.
I'm sure
Very
everyone will.
interesting topic. Okay, consent agenda was approved immediately, and public not on the agenda. Got an opportunity to speak. Ron Davis, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation, he stood up, and he said that on July 26th, he's going to present a plan to the Planning Commission for the community center, for the adult community center, and also for the
Actually, that's a senior center.
senior center. Yep,
The community center is already built.
that's true. It's the senior center. Thanks for the correction.
No problem.
I'm pretty sure it was no problem. Anyway, the other thing that he wanted to mention is that the OCTV new building is going to be part of the discussion.
Yay. Yay.
Ice skating rink. Did you know that they're going to be putting an ice skating rink in?
Not
in the summertime, but
in our building?
no, it could be in our building.
Oh,
We're
that'd
not
be great.
sure.
That's turning into a great park.
Yeah, we could have sharesies if we had ice skating. I mean, we could charge a fee probably. I mean, they can go all kinds of directions here.
Oh, sure.
We may not want to do
Who
that.
knows? You know, we've been on thin ice pretty often.
Right. They also are going to build a picnic shelter and a concession stand. And all those things have to be reviewed, of course, by the Planning Commission, which, will be coming up soon. Ron Davis then talked about the Seymour Park Festival, which he just completed.
That's right. I heard that was a great success.
Very big success. Did well. And he did talk about next year's park festival that is going to go on. It's going to be June 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Not one,
in
not two, but
2019.
3 days.
3 days. And then 1 year from that, they're actually going 2 years out, in the year 2020, there's going to be 4 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's going to be the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. Now, you heard it here first, right?
Why, that's incredible.
Right. So anyway, so he also mentioned that a couple of people, one was Supervisor Dunn, always shows up for cleanup, usually on Sundays, and he's never missed for the last 3 or 4 years, and he wanted to thank him for that. And we'd like to thank you too,
Not that
Mr.
people
Dunn.
after a carnival and fireworks and everything else leave any debris, but you know, they do.
I understand there's a few freight train loads that come out of there. They try to put them in your pocket when you leave, but no, they wouldn't do that.
Nah.
So anyway, he also wanted to have a point of appreciation to Pete Schultz, the fire department chief, and Lieutenant Pedersen, the individual in charge of the sheriff's department, who did a lot of
They had great
Protection.
traffic control there.
great traffic control. Yep, and they do a super job otherwise too, as the sheriff's department.
Getting in was easy, getting out is easy.
Right. One last person he mentioned was Pat Payne, who would be Marjorie Payne's husband, and he's an electrician. And he pointed out that they had some electrical issues that had to be taken care of, and he dropped everything he was doing and he came over and took care of those.
Good fellow.
Yep, he is. So you guys, if folks out there, you see these folks out there, tell them thanks. And don't forget to attend next year. It was a lot of fun this year, and a lot of fireworks went on. A great organization put this on, Parks and Recreation, led by Ron Davis and his crew. He invited trustees to attend next year and to help out if you want to. And you as folks out there, residents, if you want to volunteer, give them a call.
They can always use a hand.
Absolutely. Next person that spoke before this board was Jim Tedder. And Jim Tedder is running for 12th Senate District seat, which Senator Jim Marlowe is in, but it's his last term. He can't serve another term. So he's running for this in a Republican seat. And he spent some time discussing, how he could help the township as well as, of course, the county. And he's been in this area for a number of years. He talked about, fishing in some of the lakes here and water skiing and that kind of thing. So,
Bottom line,
bottom line.
please elect me.
Yeah, please elect me. Yeah, and he actually has a thing called tedder.com, which you folks can get on the internet and check him out a little bit further. Very interesting stories there. We ended up with a sign because my wife was impressed with him at our home and put a sign in. And when I mentioned this, during the meeting, Jack Hurst says, "Well, I've got one beyond this." He said, "There was a pickup truck in front of my place." He said, "No license plate." So he said, "I called the sheriff's department, and two of the finest deputies came out." It was Jim Tedder's truck. It wasn't, it was a brand new truck. And he says, "So I have a sign too." But anyway, kind of interesting. Okay, so Susan Montgomery was the next person that spoke. As this is an open session.
Man, you've got an active meeting there.
Very active, yep. And she wanted to discuss, she's from Lake Manitou, and she wanted to discuss the Hills of Manitou development that's coming in. And she had concerns for that.
Where is that?
Near Lake Manitou, wherever that is.
Thank you, Chingachgook.
You got it. That's where it's at. So anyway, she was concerned about, the little ducks and things like that are going to might be an impact, on that area with the development. And then they talked about the first reading of the vendor solicitation, door-to-door vendors, door-to-door people that
Is that a
come to your door.
modification of the one they have?
Right, it is, because the state apparently has come down and said that our existing ordinance didn't conform with what the state requires.
It exceeded it, or
No,
it undershot it?
Yeah, it exceeded it. And to the point where it
Can't
might
local
be...
governments exceed the state requirement?
No, well, it could be if you want to go to court and get
Oh.
sued, for various things.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know.
yeah, well, we'll teach you more when we come back right after
There
this,
you go.
folks. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about what went on at the township meeting the other day. Right,
Board of Trustees.
that one. Yep, that one.
That township meeting.
So anyway, we were just discussing the vendor door-to-door restrictions that they were putting on. You can no longer have a vendor come to your home earlier than 9 a.m. or later than 9 p.m. And if there's more information you'd like to see as far as what the actual ordinance is, check out the Oxford Leader, because it's all in there.
But as you were explaining to me, Oxford's restrictions were greater than the state allowed.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Because they were concerned that being the case, that you'd get somebody who says, "Well, I'm going to sue you." Well, you may say, "Well, go ahead and sue me," except the company that's going to sue you might be a communications company who's got mega bucks,
Oh,
and it could cost you a lot of money. So they want to stay away from those kind of issues. Smart guys. Okay, so also the other thing that came up was an ordinance concerning park hours, parks in use. And what they agreed upon was sunrise to sunset in all of the Oxford parks in the township.
you almost have to publish those, don't you?
Yeah, that'll
As
be
the season rolls
yeah.
along.
Yeah, that'll be published. Or they'll find the gate locked and they can't get in unless they really hurtle over the top or go under, something along that line. Okay.
Well, we couldn't tell whether it was dusk or twilight.
Right, that's true. Let me see. Also, employee handbook was another subject that came up. Jack Curtis, he said that he read the handbook recommendations, and he said that there's a number of things that maybe need to be changed within the book, but they're very small, minute things, and suggested maybe a 3-member committee be put together. And after some discussion, they agreed that Bill Dunn, Curtis Wright, and of course Joe Ferrari would be that 3-member board that would bring it back to
Okay.
the trustees. So that was approved and went forward.
Handbooks are always subject to change, year
Yeah.
after year.
They are.
Always new requirements.
But now they have an HR, so that'll make a big difference.
And we may be leveraging that HR person in the future.
I understand that that's a rumor. Is that a rumor you want to spread?
Why,
Okay.
of course.
All right, it's coming, folks. Right here to the station, according to him. Anyway, safety path repairs also are required, and a motion was made for $100,000 to be used for that purpose, for the repairs, and money is in the budget, so it was approved. Then Parks and Recreation renewal for the millage. Want to make a request that be put on the ballot, and after some discussion, it was approved that November 6th election would be placed on it after it's had legal.
All right, but basically same as before, no increases.
Right, but legal, well, there might be a half a percentage, something along that line,
A tweak.
a tweak. Because actually, Ron Davis pointed out that they've never gone over a mill, ever. And he said it gets pretty tight sometimes trying to pull the cash out of the ground. So anyway, so...
And unlike the federal government, you can't print your own money.
Boy, that's a thought. Let's see what... David, print your own money. Let's see how that works for you. Okay, then the election also, Curtis Wright brought up that during the election he's going to need extra help for part-time, and so therefore extra funding required. And I said, well, how much money are you thinking you will need, for this extra help? And he said, well, in the past it's been roughly $6,000 to $8,000. So they felt that, well, you could cancel the election or you could go ahead and approve it. And they went ahead and
Okay.
they said, well, he's got the ability to go ahead and go forward with it, so he did. Jim Sharp, our township engineer, talked about the water main loop on Manitou and M24. As you know, we brought this up before as a discussion over the years since, I believe, 2005.
Okay.
This has been in action, but actually very little done up till this point.
Is Manitou the lake by Oxford Golf Course?
Yes, it is.
Answering a question that I had before.
Right. Oh, that's true. It is. Okay. So anyway, he's saying that engineering fees and so forth requires $23,000 to get it going, and it made sense to do that. The funding, of course, is there, and it was pointed out by Jack Curtis that the actual amount of this thing overall is around $300,000 for the full project. And the problem that they have existing, of course, low water pressure, and want to improve that and take care of that situation to increase the water pressure. So this needs to be done, not to mention emergency. Let's say if the existing line ceases to function for a rupture, then there's no water to these folks. So make sure that you folks have
Spare
backup.
tire.
Yes, spare tire. And also they talked about an REU. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
Residential something
equivalent unit. Right.
Right.
Has to do with water. And they want to make sure that it's fair, everybody pays the proper amount in terms of their expense for the water usage. For an average home, just for your information out there, you use roughly 175 gallons of water.
Is an REU based on the actual dwelling plus the property?
No, it's the amount of water that you actually use in a location. It could be a rental, it could be a number of things. It could be an office building. It could be a manufacturing building. It depends on your usage, and that's what determines it. So it was approved, it was sent forward. Consumption of water, pretty important. Engineering design standards. The standards haven't been changed for a number of years, and now they're using a lot of synthetic materials, plastics, that kind of thing for piping, whereas the old engineering design didn't allow those things to happen, even though they've been using them. So they need to be brought up to date.
No lead, thank you.
Yep. So roughly $18,000 was required in order to bring all these codes up to date, or all these regulations, and the standards up to date.
Does that mean they'd have to retrofit some lines?
No, it just allows them to use different materials than what was originally required for
Would
the
it outlaw
standards.
other materials?
Not necessarily. It could, and usually that's based on what the state standards are.
Okay.
So anyway, the engineer, we got a great engineer with Jim Sharp, and he's keeping tabs on all this stuff to make sure that we're up to date. Okay, RTA, there's a good one. Regional Transit Authority.
Cut button issue.
Anybody want it here? Anybody want it here? No, no, no.
Well, I think the
Resounding no.
The valid question is, how much bang do I get for my buck?
You get Zippo.
Right.
Zero. Nada. Nothing. But the point was that actually Jim
Marlowe?
yeah, no, Jim Tedder
Tedder.
that was speaking, he said
Yeah.
that he's actually served on this board, and he said that he wanted folks to know that this was not going to be on the ballot, in November ballot. He said that it's not going to be.
Why not?
I don't know, he didn't say. He just said that they had resolved that it would not be. I would suspect because they're getting a lot of backlash on it. So, with that,
Give us some bang for the buck and maybe we'll go.
a lot of bang bucks there. Anyhow, so that takes care of the trustee meeting for the Oxford Township. Now let's talk about the Addison Township Board of Trustees. Bruce Pearson, of course, leads that group as a supervisor. Pauline Bennett is a clerk, and Lori Fisher is the treasurer. Serving on that board as trustees is Jacob Newby, Joe King, Linda Garrick, and Eric Sent. All these people, pretty sharp people over there. Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer by Jacob. You notice these prayers just before these meetings? Good idea.
Little benediction there.
Okay, right.
Oh,
Announcements.
please.
Announcements for the next thing. No announcements, so we're going to go on. Petitions. No petitions. This is moving along pretty quickly. Department reports. Financial report available to view at the office. Not presented there, but if you folks are interested in looking at the financials, it's there. The agenda was approved and agreed to go forward with it, along with the consent agenda, including the June 18 minutes, the bills for 2018, and authorize receipts for the Strawberry Festival of the amount of $500. And we'll talk more about this when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. We're talking about Addison Township right now, and I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And public hearing, SAD, Special
Assessment
Got it.
District.
Okay. The first one was for.
Good. I got flashcards, folks.
Yeah, he does. We call him Flash around here. Well, maybe for other reasons, but anyway,
Hey,
Gravel Ridge is one of the roads, and Deer Point, and the SAD is for $200. It's for a 5-year period, and that's per parcel. It would be charged out. After some discussion, it was agreed that they would go forward with that after public had their say. So that was approved. And the second SAD that came forward was a public hearing for Glen Meadow, Glen Wood, Glen View, a lot of Glens here, Glen Cove, and Glen Valley. A lot of different streets, all named after Glen.
probably all the same sub.
Yeah, could be. $175 for a 5-year period per parcel. And that, of course, was discussed, and public was asked to come forward. No public to speak of, so they approved.
Okay.
And it went forward. Third SAD, public hearing for Donna May Street and Mary Lane, or Marcy Lane, I'm sorry.
Are
Marcy
these
Lane.
SADs administered at the same time like land taxes are and what have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. And their SAD for Donna Lane, or Donna May and Marcy Lane is $300 for a 5-year period. Now, this covers, you're probably wondering what these SADs cover. Well, it covers snow removal, of course, in the winter, and of course, repairing the road during the summer and both in the winter and spring.
Right. And the SAD would be applied because they're private roads.
That's correct. Or it could be not a private road.
If it's a
and
public,
still,
if it's a public road, then it wouldn't be an SAD.
could be. Could be, depending. If the funds aren't there, then you can take an SAD. For example, the streets in Oxford that need some repair, that are actually county roads, in order to get the roads actually repaired for them, would
On
take an
time.
SAD.
On time.
Forever. Because they'll keep saying, we have no money.
Oh, that's true.
What, you have no money? We have no money. So that's how you get it done with an SAD. Very low payment for what, $300
Yeah,
a
and
year.
you're
is a lot
leveraging a big
Or
public works
$75.
department to do it.
Absolutely. Now the next thing that came up was really interesting, and it was about a splash pad. They want to put a splash pad out near the administrative or the township building where the playground area is located. And actually the company that they're looking at is called Vortex, and they're the same people that did Oxford.
Okay, they have a very nice one.
Yeah, Seymour Lake. And so actually Bruce Pearson went out to visit Ron Davis, and they had quite a discussion. They said, well, what do you do when there's iron in the water? Ron Davis says, you paint cement or have it the color of rust. And if you'll notice, that's what it is at the Seymour
it?
Lake. Yeah,
Oh,
at the splash pad. Looks like rust.
don't drink the water, kids.
Right. Well, they always tell them that anyway, not to do that.
Well, it
Even though
tastes
the
bad.
water is filtered.
Iron. But it still has iron.
Yeah, it comes out of the well. And actually, it comes out of a well in Addison Township as well.
That was
And-
my biggest shock when I first came to Oxford back in '58, was the taste of the water, the raw water coming out of a well. Wow.
Well, you got to stop drinking it out of the lake,
Well,
mean,
God
they
knows
do
what you'll
filter
get in
it
a
as well.
lake, a guppy.
Big guppies. So anyway, after a great deal of discussion, Lori Fisher, she was against this, by the way. She says, what about restrooms? They're going to doo-doo on the lawn. No, they're going to use our bathrooms. What's going to happen there? But Eric Sent was very much for this, and also the clerk, she was for this as well. And after a great deal of attention to this, they agreed to go forward with it and get more information in terms of the actual cost to do it. And they thought it was a fantastic idea to get kids and others involved in the splash pad. It says it's like a magnet, it draws them.
Yep.
So it's a good idea, Addison Township. And they wanted to also amend the fees for the term of lawn service that's provided. And lawn service there is provided by Kelvin Sotheby. And the reason why there's an adjustment to this is because now he has to mow the hill to get it done. And plus the top, there's a new area that they seeded. So the additional cost is $60
That's
plus.
a pretty steep hill.
It is, yeah. I think
What do they use, a rope?
I was going to say, they put a lawnmower on a bungee cord and give it a push.
Or just do it in swinging arcs?
Yeah, right. Right, or you take some guy and roll him down the hill with it. I have no idea how they do it, but apparently he does it, and he does a good job, and they want to keep him. So $60 for the hill and $15 for the top of the hill. And let me see, public comment, demographics. Guy was interested in knowing what the demographics were in Addison Township in terms of age, how many people a certain age live there, how many people are coming and how many people are going.
You get a lot of information off the census.
Yeah, and that was actually pointed out by Bruce Pearson as well. And now, that took care of Addison Township. Now we've got a quick meeting coming up that we did cover. It's Oxford Village DDA, Downtown Development Authority. It was held on July 18th. Pete Schultz is the chairperson. Dorothy Johnston serves as the vice chair. Susan Schur serves as the secretary. Does a great job there too. Rod Charles is on that board. Nicole Ellsworth owns the 551 Diner. Nancy Rosenstrater, who's the vice president of the Oxford Bank. Sue Bassardit, Susan Oles, and Elgin Nichols is on that board.
Who is that guy?
I don't know. He was wide awake, I can tell you that. Sat next to fire chief, and of course he pokes you every once in a while. Keeps you wide awake. Glenn Pape, unfortunately, he was not there because he had a death in the family. His father passed away unexpectedly, so
That's too bad.
he was gone. Pledge of Allegiance was made, and public comment on agenda items. Nope, no comment. Minutes for May 18th, 2018 were approved, and reports all set aside. Sue Bassardit made a motion to do that until Glenn Pape gets back, and then they'll consider those items when he gets back. July bills, however, had to be covered, and that was $9,278.14. Now, that covers the DDA meeting. It was short and sweet.
And sweet.
Not much to it. And we hustled right through that one.
And you may ask, what meetings are coming up?
Yes, what meetings are coming up?
Not a lot.
May I ask that?
Not a lot. I had to stretch it to go to 8-6, and there is at 7 o'clock the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals. However, it's the Zoning Board of Appeals in the Village of Oxford, so a lot of times these get canceled, so check before you go.
Yes, I serve on that board as well, and they're active right now. They've got an issue before the Planning Commission who has to make the motion to go forward with it, but they want to reduce the number of members on the ZBA for the village from 7 to 5. So there's quite a
As long as they're still an odd man out.
yes, that could be
Someone has to break those ties.
right. But you can make decisions a lot quicker. You know, 5 people looking at the information and beating around the bush and back around the bush and again around the bush. But anyway, it's usually pretty clear. And of course, the ZBA is the not the political end, but the legal end of
Right.
the village. So whatever they
They're
say goes, pretty much.
The meeting of last recourse.
That's the last of recourse, yes.
Right.
And I think talk about last of recourse is pretty much finished this session. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time at Minute by Minute right here.
We'll see you then.
All right, do you guys like U.S. history?
Yeah!
No.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, American history.
Oh my God, these girls are super smart.
All right, first question. All right, why do we celebrate the 4th of July?
Because this is the date where the U.S. got their independence.
All right, who did we declare independence from? You already said it before.
Britain.
Britain? Yep. Why do we celebrate the 4th of July?
Declaration of Independence.
Shout it out.
America. I don't know what we're doing.
Who did we declare independence from?
England or whatever.
What was the war called that we won against them?
Revolutionary War.
There you go.
I don't know.
The one where we declared independence from England. You guys, can you think of the war?
So,
No, it's not the Boston Tea Party.
No, it's called the Revolutionary War.
I feel so dumb right now.
Okay, here's a tough one. Do you guys know Thomas Paine?
Yeah, I think.
Sounds familiar.
How do you know him? What did he write?
He wrote that speech that changed really. I think it did. He wrote Charlie. Yeah, let's talk about it. It's not something we should know.
Sounds so familiar, but I don't remember.
What's his name? I have no idea.
Well, okay, if you do something really, guys, if you do something really dumb, your mom will say that you don't have common sense. That's what Thomas Paine.
Common sense.
Those overnight arts. Oh. Maybe we should get some of that.
Who's your favorite founding father? Do you guys have one?
It'll be George Washington.
Taylor
Swift.
Jesus, did you say Jesus?
Yeah. Washington.
All right, what about you guys?
Don't have one.
Think of something.
Washington. Washington.
Okay, Washington. All right. We're going to show some pictures and you're going to identify some characters. All right. All right.
Washington.
Okay, for the camera to know,
Yeah.
shouting it out there, we've got this guy. Who is this?
George Washington.
I have no idea. George Washington. Yeah, George Washington.
Who's that?
Benjamin Franklin. Thomas Paine.
Benjamin Franklin. Not Thomas Paine, Benjamin Franklin. Yes. All right, this one.
Thomas Jefferson, maybe? I don't know. I don't think that's Adams. No.
Ben Franklin.
Oh.
And this one.
John Adams.
No, come on, one more time.
XXX.
He was our third president.
Wait, no. Oh, I know. President. Wait. What's wrong?
Jefferson. Jefferson.
Yes, oh my God.
I have no idea.
Any guesses?
John something.
Thomas Jefferson.
There was a J there.
That was my first. Oh my gosh. Who is Thomas Jefferson and what two major things has he done for America?
He was a president,
Yes.
and that's all I got.
Oh, you're almost there.
He wrote the Declaration, the Constitution.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. He wrote the Constitution. All right, thanks so much for playing, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.